4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody. I'm just going to go through my welcome here. My name is Coach Les. I'm here with Sister Catherine Barnhart, and we are speaking to you while we're on Clubhouse, and we are reading the John Maxwell Leadership Bible. And the opportunity of this Bible has been for us to look and see how all of the leadership bubbles that John Maxwell has created through all of the books he's written with his faith. And we are currently in Song of Songs, chapter 4, verses 1 to 16. And the bubble is called Leaders Bless People. Good leaders give the blessing to those they lead. In the Hebrew culture, fathers or patriarchs usually gave the blessing to their sons. Rabbis and other spiritual leaders also pronounced blessings. Gary Smalley and John Trent remind us that the blessing contains 5 key elements. Number 1, affirming words. Words that give hope and encouragement to the listener. 2, meaningful touch, an embrace or a hand on a shoulder, communicating care. 3, an expression of high value, a statement on the value that person adds to everyone. 4, a vision of a special future, provides word pictures that communicate potential. And 5, an application of genuine commitment. Do everything in your power to see that blessing comes to pass. And I wanted to see, the homework was to look and be inside this conversation and really look and see how this shows up in your own life and in your own business. What are the affirming words that you use, and how often do you use them? What's the meaningful touch that you use in your life or with people around you? An expression of high value, where you acknowledge, for me, where you would acknowledge an employee and let them know the value that they are for the company. The vision of a special future that has people see themselves as a part of the future of the company. So, for instance, we just finished training one of our teenagers and gave him a key to be a team lead. So now he can open the shop, he can come in, and he will be able to start the ice cream shop in its workday and manage another person and manage the money and keep track of it all, and then lock up at the end of the night and turn the lights off. And for me I had that vision from the day that I hired him. And now, knowing that he stuck through the winter with us, which was a slow time for these kids, which they're in school, so it worked out for some of them to have that slowness. And now we see an opportunity, and he's like, I really want to become a team lead before we get to the summer so that I can, be the one opening the door, be the one supporting what's going on, since I've been here now for almost, a year. And that's a way that I can demonstrate, and we as an ownership can demonstrate our commitment to him. And that's the last one, application of genuine commitment, doing everything in your power to see that blessing come to pass. Looking and making sure that what I saw and how we trained him and how we talked to him and how often he's called in sick, or how often he's replaced himself, or how often he's taken shifts to help out his fellow employees. Is he a team player? So that's how this has showed up for me this week. And I'm super excited to continue and move through Song of Songs with the leadership bubble. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Sister Catherine, and we're going to hear how it showed up for her.
Wow. Well, be able to bless people. I mean, it's I just love the scriptures in Deuteronomy 28, where the Lord thy God himself He said, we're blessed going, we're blessed coming. Whatever we put our hands upon, it's going to prosper. We're the head, we're not the tail. We are above, we're not beneath. We're going to bless other nations. So I enjoy when I meet people and when I leave their presence, I like to say the last words, many, many blessings to you, because that's what the Lord gives unto us. He gives us many, many blessings. He loves to bless us. And so when we're in a position and we're able to bless those that are under our leadership, my goodness, it's just such a joy to be able to bless somebody. It's a great feeling in the inside. It does something for me in the inside to be able to even to be in a position to bless. And then the person that's receiving the blessing, oh my goodness, it's just such an awesome feeling just to watch their eyes, watch their movement, watch that joy that they receive from receiving that blessings. And and so here, our lesson that you're sharing with us today, this is a very good one, Coach, because we need to be able to just touch someone else's heart. So we need to be able to reach out to others and just do all of these great things here. So I'm looking forward to just studying how to be a blessing, to those that we're in charge of, and all that's going to pop off today. So I pass the mic back over to you.
All right. And with that, I just want to let everybody know we're flipping pages and heading over to Leaders Practice Good People Skills. And this is going from chapter 5, verse 1, all the way to chapter 6, verse 13. So basically, all the way through chapter 5 and chapter 6. And I'm going to read the verses and then share with you the leader experience. Chapter 5, He. I have come into my garden, my sister, my bride. I have gathered my myrrh with my spice. I have eaten my honeycomb and my honey. I have drunk my wine and my milk. Friends, eat, friends, and drink. Drink your fill of love. She, I slept, but my heart was awake. Listen, my beloved is knocking. Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my flawless one. My head is drenched with dew, my hair with the dampness of the night. I have taken off my robe. Must I wash it on again? Must I put it on again? I have washed my feet. Must I soil them again? My beloved thrust his hand through the latch, opening. My heart began to pound for him. I arose to open for my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with flowing myrrh. On the handles of the bolt, I opened for my beloved, but my beloved had left. He was gone. My heart sank at his departure. I looked for him, but did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer. The watchmen found me as they made their rounds in the city. They beat me. They bruised me. They took away my cloak. Those watchmen of the walls. Daughters of Jerusalem, I charge you, if you find my beloved, what will you tell him? Tell him I am faint with love. Friends, how is your beloved better than others? Most beautiful of women. How is your beloved better than others that you so charge us? My beloved is radiant and ruddy, outstanding among 10,000. His head is purest gold. His hair is wavy and black as a raven. His eyes are like doves by the water streams, washed in milk, mounted like jewels. His cheeks are like beds of spice, yielding perfume. His lips are like lilies, dripping with myrrh. His arms are rods of gold set with topaz. His body is like polished ivory, decorated with lapis lazuli. His legs are pillars of marble, set on bases of pure gold. His appearance is like Lebanon, choice as its cedars. His mouth is sweetness itself. He is altogether lovely. This is my beloved. This is my friend, daughters of Jerusalem. Friends, where has your beloved gone? Most beautiful of women, which way did your beloved turn that we may look for him with you? My beloved has gone down to his garden, to the beds of spices, to browse in the gardens and to gather lilies. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. He browses among the lilies. You are as beautiful as Tirzah, my darling, as lovely as Jerusalem, as majestic as troops with banners. Turn your eyes from me, they overwhelm me. Your hair is like a flock of goats descending from Gilead. Your teeth are like a flock of sheep coming up from the washing. Each has its twin, not one of them is missing. Your temples behind your veil are like the halves of a pomegranate. 60 queens there may be, and 80 concubines and virgins beyond number. But my dove, my perfect one, is unique, the only daughter of her mother, the favorite of the one who bore her. Who is this? Who is this that appears like the dawn, fair as the moon, bright as the sun, majestic as the stars in procession? I went down to the grove of nut trees to look at the new growth in the valley, to see if the vines had budded or the pomegranates were in bloom. Before I realized it, my desire set me among the royal chariots of my people. Come back, O Shulamite. Come back that we may gaze on you. Why would you gaze on the Shulamite? Woo! So leaders practice good people skills. The Song of Songs overflows with heart, describing a passionate relationship between two people who deeply love each other. What can leaders learn from this book? Leaders must relate to their people from the soul, not merely by protocol. The best way to overcome problems is to involve your heart, not just your head. Unfortunately, we're tempted toward another direction. When we fail at something, we tend to see why it happened and cut ourselves some slack. We may even make excuses for our mistakes. In other words, we deal with ourselves using our heart, yet we often neglect the heart when dealing with others. We can be direct and even demanding. It really works best to switch the whole thing around. When dealing with with yourself, use your head. And when dealing with others, use your heart. So one of the things here, I think there's a space in this for all of us to look right there, because there are definitely some people that don't use their heart when they're dealing with themselves and haven't ever. So, you know, the one thing that I want to make sure that as people read this and they hear this, there are people who are so invested, they're over invested, and they're not thinking clearly, and that is reversed. So beware of that, so that you don't double dig yourself into a hole, and look and see, how is your grace for yourself? And I just want to make sure to say hello. Barbara just popped in, Tamara C popped in, and Ruth popped in from England. where she is 6 hours ahead. So it is coming up almost at 7 o'clock after dinner. And Ruth, we are just moving into Song of Songs, chapter 5 and 6. And we just finished sharing. And with that, I know you were here for the homework last week, Sister Ruth, around affirming words, meaningful touch, expression of high value, a vision of a special future, application of genuine commitment. Were you able to work on the homework, Sister Ruth?
I didn't actually work on the homework, Coach, but were we supposed to do an actual affirmation itself, or was it more about defining our vision?
Yes and yes.
Gosh, I mean, I think with affirmations, those are the ones where we're repeating the things that we need to be most mindful of.
Mm-hmm.
And they almost need to be on a daily basis. So for me, I need to think about providing myself with more structure and ensuring I give myself more grace. And that came out for me yesterday in that when I showed my own vulnerability.
Amen. Yeah.
I don't normally do that readily, but one of my clients phoned me and I'd only just woken up because I've been working and working trying to catch up on everything for everyone. And he phoned me out of the blue, and I thought he was away in India because he told me he was going away to India for 2.5 months when he hassled me just after Christmas for what he wanted. And so I was a bit confused. And I said to him, I was still in bed having had a rough night because I'd been working so hard that I'd made myself feel ill. And so instead of, as I thought he was going to do, him being unpleasant to me, he kind of then said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And instead of discussing his tax figures, he expressed, well, it wasn't really that important, and said I'd been going through a lot. And I thought, well, that's a change from how he was the previous time when he was saying, I want this and I want it now.
Nice.
And then the next phone call was from my accountancy body, who I was supposed to do all the re-registration for them by this coming the 29th of February, and I was stressing out over doing that as well. And they phoned while I was speaking with him. So when I went back to them, still trying to get up out of bed, they rang me back, and I'd mentioned to the first person I spoke with that I was still recovering from cancer. And when they rang me back, it was a lovely young man from the office, and he said, don't worry about the deadline. We're giving you an extra month to get everything done.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
I've been stressed about the fact that I actually owned up to not being able to cope made all the difference. And that's where I say, I think in my affirmations, I need to tell myself, I need to give myself more grace to understand what I can do and what I can't do.
Well, and let people know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and not feel that in letting them know, I make in a funny sort of way, I try to be strong in a way because I'm supporting them, not the other way around. But I'm wrong in doing that. Because I think if they know what I'm going through, then not only do they understand, but I'm a human being like they are too.
That's right.
So that was my lesson for this week.
I love it.
That was good.
Thank you.
Powerful, powerful.
And I'll leave the mic. Thank you, Coach, to you again.
Whoop, whoop. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Sister Catherine, anything you want to say to that?
Wow, that was just a powerful testimony, Ruth. I love it. You know, it just shows that people still have a heart. And, you know, we are talking about that heart today. You know, here, leaders practicing good skills. Wow. The Song of Songs overflows with our heart. And in the inside of us, there's a lot of good. And when we allow that heart to rule instead of what people are saying, what people want, but just allowing that pure heart to flow like that, we're able to just be a blessing to so many people. And it just sounds like the people that Ruth was dealing with just turned out to be a blessing. They heard her heart. They didn't just think about their business. They wasn't thinking about, oh, I need this done. I need this done today. You know, okay, yeah, I'm sure, you know, you're going through a few things. I'm going through some things myself. But they brought out, you know, they were thinking outside of the box. They were looking out, having that love for one another. And that's awesome. When we have the opportunity to bless someone from the heart, we need to just go on and just let that flow. Let that flow, because so many people is in need of us operating from the heart instead of what people are telling us what to do and telling us what to say. Things that people want us to say and do, we have to really allow that heart to speak, because God created that heart, and in the inside of that heart, He put His goodness, He put His love. And so when we allow that to flow out, we're a blessing to all mankind. Thank you, Coach. I pass the mic back over to you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I think it is perfect time now to move on to what's next. And that is to read the leaders practice good people skills. So we just read all the verses, chapter 5, verse 1, all the way through to chapter 6, verse 13 in Song of Songs. And John Maxwell says, the Song of Songs overflows with heart, describing a passionate relationship between two people who deeply love each other. What can leaders learn from this book? Leaders must relate to their people from the soul, not merely by protocol. The best way to overcome problems is to involve your heart, not just your head. Unfortunately, we're tempted toward another direction. When we fail at something, we tend to see why it happened and cut ourselves some slack. We may even make excuses for our mistakes. In other words, we deal with ourselves using our heart. Yet we often neglect the heart. When dealing with others, we can be direct, and when dealing with others, use your heart. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So now as we continue to go through Song of Songs, you know, that's the last. It's a short book. And I want to finish this book by sharing about what the intention was, right from and the lessons in leadership, and see how it shaped up for each of us. So the lessons in leadership from this book, Song of Songs, were the best leaders feel motivated by love and compassion for their people. You cannot separate leadership from relationships. When leaders practice transparency, respect goes up, not down. Both the leader and the people need each other. Even the toughest of problems can be solved when relationships are managed well. So with that, as we conclude, the whole expense, this book was interpreted by scholars for 4 primary ways. Allegory. This view sees the book expressing the love of God for his chosen people. Each part of the song contains some symbolic meaning. 2, dramatic narrative. The song expresses Solomon's own love affair with a Shulamite woman, whom he takes as a wife to his palace in Jerusalem. And 3, an extended parable. This view sees the song not as allegory, seeking meaning in every verse, but as a parable of Christ and his church. Literal. This view sees Solomon celebrating the virtues of human love. However you view the book, think of God's role as the ultimate leader whose love for his people motivates him to lead and to act on their behalf. Leaders whose love for his people motivates him to lead and to act on their behalf. Wow. So think about this. And hi, Coach C. How are you, sir?
Outstanding, Coach. Great to be here. Glad I could make it.
Yeah, we're just finishing Song of Songs and God's love for his people. We just finished the last bubble, the bubbles that were here in this. The passionate, consuming love of God, the affirmation, leaders identify and affirm qualities in others, right? Identify, specify, quantify, magnify. Then catching the little foxes that often ruin an organization, the bad attitudes, the gossipers, the lack of encouragement, no time off, impatient supervisors. Leaders must listen for the sounds of the little fox feet. Remember, it's better to build a fence at the top of the cliff than a hospital at the bottom. Leaders honor their teams. They put 10s on their foreheads. Make them sincere. Be genuine and authentic about what you say. Make them specific. Get very pointed and detailed about what you say. Make them public. Declare these honoring words in front of others. Don't hide praise. Let everybody know that that's a piece of your culture in your company. Praise, acknowledgement. Leaders bless people. Part of the homework for today was affirming words, meaningful touch, expression of high value, a vision of a special future, and the application of genuine commitment. And then the last part. The last part here was to look at leaders practice good people skills. What does that look like? Relating to their people from the soul, not merely by protocol. The best way to overcome problems is to involve your heart, not your head. Not just your head. Unfortunately, we're tempted toward another direction. We fail at something. We tend to see why it happened and cut ourselves some slack. So I'd love to hear closing thoughts on Song of Songs. What do you see as you take away from this? So, Sister Catherine, what do you want to share?
Wow. Well, with this chapter, it really brought forth true love, to really love the person as a whole. Not just going by what someone says or what someone else think about that person, but just going deep into that person's heart and checking things out from the root, and loving and making and just doing all that you can to bless that person and be a blessing to that person. People need to know that they're loved. When you are working with a group of people, they need to know that you love them and they're not just workers. They're just, you don't want to treat them like they're slaves. You want to treat them royally. You want to treat them with honor. You want to give them praise. You want to let them know that you highly appreciate them, because they don't really have to be doing what they're doing. And you appreciate their, the community that you have with them, and you're taking that time out to just go deeper than the surface. A lot of time we have the tendency to just stay on the surface. We don't want to go deep. And what a good leader does, a good leader, he checks out everything. He just doesn't just go by what everybody is saying, or what someone else is thinking, but he or she is able to discern the whole situation and go deeper than what meets the eye. And that's a good leader. A good leader is able to share that love in a way that those that you're working with is unable to share, because you care about your leader, and what he or she says to you, it means a lot, and it can cause you to do things in your life to be able to be a blessing to others when you're in that leadership position. So it's just a truly position to teach from, Coach. I think this was just awesome, studying how deep this was, like a deep love, not a surface type love, but going deeper than what meets the eye here. So I pass the mic back over to you.
Woo. And I just picked up a fun book. And it's called The 5 Love Languages. And words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. And when we look at this, then there's the 5 love languages how it's related to children. The 5 love languages, it's related to teenagers. So as we look at that, and by the way, the love languages are all the same. They're not different. It's still words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch. It's having you look and take a look at your teenagers, your kids, what really is their love language, and how does that help? Well, guess what? Learning the love languages of your clients, learning the love languages of the people that you deal with every day, being responsible for this, to me, is just so paramount. And sometimes we have to be careful, because our own love languages reflect off of the people that we're with. And so we think, oh, words of affirmation, cool, which is my love language. I'm going to use that on my wife. Well, that may not be her love language, but yet if I push it and I exude it, it's going to reflect back from me, and I'm going to think that, and then I'm going to wonder why my results are not good. So the same thing comes from the people that we work with, comes from the people that we're surrounding by, comes from the people that we're involved in our faith with. So we want to be careful to make sure that the love languages, the love that we're doing, the affirming words, the meaningful touch, the expressions, the vision, and the application, right? When we look at that from the Song of Songs, right? And that from and as we look at this, we have affirming words, words of affirmation, right? Meaningful touch. There's the physical touch as one of the 5 languages. Expression of high value, a statement on the value That person adds to everyone. To me, right there, that's a part, once again, stepping into that space. How are we blessing those people? How are we looking at them? How are we embracing them? When we look at vision, right? A vision of a special future provides word pictures that communicate potential. That can be partly a gift, that can be partly an act of service. And then lastly, this application of genuine commitment. Do everything in your power to see that blessing come to pass. Are we spending the time? Are we being responsible with the words of affirmation? Are we looking at building all of that? And that whole thing, meaningful touch, physical touch. You have to be very careful today's workplace. You have to be very careful. And yet, I believe you can't live without it. You can't live without it. And if an employee touches you, right, how do you respond? Do you respond in like, yikes, I don't want to get in trouble? Or do you respond with an understanding that that's part of their language? And they're looking to be sincere. Because remember, everybody, how much of our communication is nonverbal? How much? 85 to 95% is nonverbal. That is a lot. All right, well, let's go ahead and pass it around and see what other people have to share before we move on and set ourselves up for next week and set ourselves up getting ready to go into Isaiah. All right, Sister Catherine, did you want to add anything else, or should I pass it to Ruth?
Oh, yes, you can pass it over to Ruth. I would love to hear her share at this time.
Woo woo. Ruth, bring us the English. It's tea time.
I love that comment that you just made about 85 to 90% of communication with others being non-verbal. That's very interesting because very often when I'm listening to somebody, whatever they're saying, I go off on a tangent and I'll think about, well, what's the outcome of this? And then they'll sometimes they'll get a bit annoyed with me and say that I'm not listening to what they're telling me. Well, obviously, the fact that communication is non-verbal, I'm watching them and I'm watching how they are. And I'm thinking almost, well, what are you kind of asking me? And because of the way my mind works, I'm already off thinking, well, what's the next part to this? And people don't always understand that. So it's obvious that I need to be clearer, I think, I am being clear, actually, in what I'm doing in my non-verbal communication at that point, aren't I?
Mm-hmm.
But that was an interesting point for me. And then in terms of giving grace to others, I've always led with my heart, and I give them so many chances to consider things and trying to bring them to understanding that people are far more important, and their understanding, their values and principles are of the utmost importance in life and how we treat others. And I think that's really what the Song of Solomon is teaching us.
Yeah.
And the Song of Songs, throughout the whole of it, it's teaching us to show the right level of care, understanding and love that we all need so much to grow and live a life at peace with ourselves and with others, and in the true principles of God having created us, and God being the source of the love that we share. And I yield the mic.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Ruth. And with that, we pass the mic to Coach C.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Apologize for showing up late. Just got out of a meeting. But yeah, I want to piggyback on what Ruth was saying. And I'm too, Coach, am a little shocked at the percentage that makes up nonverbal communication, because that's very telling. Because nonverbal communication plays a significant role in interpersonal communication. How you dealing with those individuals on your job? How you dealing with the people in your church? How you dealing with the people in your community? How you dealing with your family? You know, sometimes we just think that information is going to solve, all the problems, and we fail to recognize that 80% of nonverbal communication and why the message is getting lost in translation. Let me give you an example. I can say I'm fine verbally, but if I'm slouched in my posture and if I don't have any eye contact with you and I have a subdued tone of voice, that may indicate that I'm feeling upset or trouble. And if you don't pick up on that and you just keep talking, that's probably not going to get the outcome. You're probably not going to get the outcome that you're looking for, right? And so no rapport has been built. No trust has been established. We need to learn to interpret those situations, and that'll help us understand those underlining meanings of words and engage the sincerity of people, and then help us adapt that communication style to fit the right context. And I'm pretty sure if 80% of nonverbal communication is how we operate and how we move, then that really, no wonder that the world is kind of in the condition it's in, because nobody's listening to anybody. Wow, only 20% of the world is functioning by design. So yeah, that's scary thought.
It is.
Woo! Hallelujah.
Pretty serious.
Thank you so much, Coach C. And Tamra, welcome to the stage.
I can't speak for long, but what was the specific question? I apologize.
We were just there was no specific question. It was a review of this chapter of Song of Songs and affirmation and the love languages, and we talked a little bit about the lessons in leadership, and how does communication, along with nonverbal communication, how does it step up as a leader? Motivated by love and compassion for their people. You can't separate leadership from relationships, right? Leaders practice transparency. Respect goes up and down.
In my personal experience, I rarely have misunderstandings when I'm communicating with somebody in person. It's usually when it's through text that the greatest miscommunications happen. And then it over the phone, it's less. And then in person, it's even less, because there's so much lost, and we are just so stuck these days on just text messages. It really kind of bothers me. We've lost, being able to have a more personal relationship with each other. In the workplace, it's really important to be able to know and understand each other better to avoid misunderstandings, because we are doing a lot more remote work and a lot more texting and things like that. And if you don't really have opportunities to know each other, it's easy to misunderstand each other. Because like you said, there's just so much lost in communication when you can't see the person. So that's just been my personal experience. And I try to not talk about serious things when it's over text.
Yeah, good.
I try to avoid it,
Very
because
good.
in my experience, it's not always ended up in a good place. Was someone trying to say something?
Just we were agreeing with you both, Sister Catherine and I were both nodding in agreement.
It is interesting you're bringing up the love languages, because when you learn someone's love language, you begin to see that other people have other perspectives, and begin to give people more grace when there is misunderstanding, because we're speaking the same language, but we're not speaking the same language. And when you study other things like the Myers-Briggs personality, you see, at least I've seen, that there are two camps of people that make a big difference in communication. There's this people who have preference for thinking and logic, and then there's the people who are feelers. And when you're dealing with a thinker and you're a feeler, sometimes it can feel like they're being insensitive or not nice or maybe mean. And then the thinkers sometimes will get frustrated with the feelers because they're not being quote unquote logical. It's important to understand that we all have different ways of seeing the world. There's other systems too, like the Big Five, and when all it does is help to enrich your understanding of other people. And when you understand all these different differences, it's, for me personally, it's just easier to give people grace, and try to seek to understand someone first before jumping to like an offense, or give people the benefit of doubt before jumping to the wrong conclusions in your communication, which I think is especially important in business. I've been misunderstood before in business, and misunderstood others too. And anyway, it doesn't bode well or help for fostering good relationships and working well together with people. So that's my share. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you so much, Tamara.
Yep, awesome.
Awesome. Well, as we're coming down on the half hour here, I just want to set us up for Monday. We're going to be introducing Isaiah and looking at the leadership lessons in Isaiah. And the great thing about it is vision is born out of values and ethics. They must align. The measure of a person is what he or she does with power. Leaders create atmospheres and environments for growth and success. Ability, opportunity, and desire make up the components of a call to lead. God reduces prideful leaders, but resources humble leaders. Strategic planning that ignores God and the changing culture is doomed to fail. Insecure leaders inevitably destroy people. Secure leaders develop people. The higher leaders climb, the fewer there are who can hold them accountable. God himself provides the the ultimate model of servant leadership. And, you know, for me, as we prepare for Monday, Isaiah was one of the greatest prophets in Jewish history. And as one of the most powerful models in the Bible, the book that bears his name describes his consistent lifestyle, his uncompromising convictions, and his clear vision that drove him to continue speaking out despite the unfaithfulness of his people. Isaiah's lifestyle reminds us that we cannot separate a leader's words and their walk. They have to coincide. A leader must first be an example to the people. People do what people see, right? It's just like children. You know, I keep bringing up children, right? Because they're such a great mini example of business. Children follow what their parents teach, even when their parents don't think they're teaching. And they're like little computers running around, absorbing information. Now you take that into the grown-up business world, the same thing. Your clients are absorbing information about you. Your vendors are absorbing information about you. And what are your standards? So with that, I want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Carnell, for being in the listening. Sister Tamara, thanks for coming up. Coach G, thanks for coming in and dancing on the stage with us. Sister Ruth, thanks for coming across the pond and playing with us in the evening hours. And I want to do a special thank you and shout out to my co-host, Sister Catherine. Today I wore a shirt. Just like hers.
Thank you, Coach.
Camps for Christ. So when you go to take a look at this, if you have a look on Facebook or LinkedIn, you'll see my Teach Jesus yellow shirt. And it says what I think is very funny. Down below, it says skills included. Woo! So thank you.
Thank you.
Where'd you get that shirt, Coach? I like it.
I got it from Sister Catherine when I was there for the conference. It was my gift from Sister Catherine. It was pretty cool.
And it says teaching Jesus skills required. What does it say?
So it says Camps for Christ across the top, because that's the ministry that Sister Catherine and Coach Jay they have and is still in existence. And then it says Teach Jesus. And right below that, it says
skills included.
Skills included.
I love it.
And it's all around a basketball because that's where Coach Jay came from. So thank you, everybody. It was great hanging out with you. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Monday. Same time, same channel, right here. Whoop, whoop.
Amen.
And have a blessed weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be careful. Drive safe. Play safe. And God bless you all. This room will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Awesome, Coach.